Okay, let's forget everything you think you know about dusty old legal documents. Today, we're going to talk about something different. We're going to tell a story about power, where it actually comes from, who has it, and most importantly, how you can understand and even wield it.
I mean, think about it for a second. Every single day, you hear about protests, new laws, court hearings, big government decisions. Doesn't it sometimes feel like you're watching this massive, complicated game being played all around you, but nobody ever bothered to hand you the rulebook? You know, that feeling of complexity can make it seem like the real power is completely out of reach. But what if I told you that rulebook isn't some big secret? It absolutely exists, and it's the key to understanding everything that's going on. It's called the Constitution, and believe it or not, it's the one guide that can make you one of the most important players in this whole game.
Right, so the key thing to get here is that this is not some boring textbook. Imagine you live in a big apartment building, but there are no rules. It'd be chaos, right? People parking wherever they want, making noise all night, a total mess. But then everyone agrees on a rule book. Suddenly there are clear limits and there are clear rights. Well, the Constitution is basically the rule book for our entire society. It draws a line in the sand for the government and tells them their limits. And then it turns around and hands you the ultimate authority, your rights.
So how does this rulebook actually stop any one person from becoming way too powerful? Well, let's meet the umpires of the game and see exactly how that power is split up. The people who wrote the Constitution, they knew a fundamental truth about human nature. And this quote, this gets right to the heart of it. If you want to protect freedom, you simply cannot let power get concentrated in one place. You have to divide it. And this breaks it down perfectly. Think of it just like a cricket team. First, you have the legislative branch. That's Parliament. They're like the coach, you know? They create the laws, they set the game plan. Then you have the executive. That's the government. They're the captain, the ones actually out on the field running the plays. And then, crucially, you have the judiciary, the courts. They're the umpire, and their job is to make sure nobody, not even the captain, is breaking the rules. This whole setup has a name. It's called the separation of powers. It's a really simple idea, but it's designed to make sure the coach can't also be the umpire, and the captain can't just write their own rules. This creates what we call checks and balances. For instance, the umpire, the courts, can declare a new rule from the coach illegal if it breaks the game's core principles. It's really the ultimate safeguard for our freedom. Okay, now let's see how this all connects. Because the rulebook doesn't just limit the government's power, it actually gives you power. And you could think of these as your own personal in-game power-ups. So the first and maybe the most critical power-up you have is freedom of speech. Seriously, it's not just some right, it is the very oxygen that a democracy breathes. Without it, pretty much everything else just suffocates. And look, this isn't just about yelling on a street corner. It's the right to write an article, to create art that challenges people's thinking, to peacefully protest a law you think is wrong, and yeah, even the right to stay silent. It is the power to question authority without being afraid. Next up is the right to equality. This is a really simple but incredibly profound promise. In the eyes of the law, it just doesn't matter if you're the richest person in the country or the poorest. The rules are exactly the same for everyone, period. This is a perfect example. A CEO in a super fancy car and a cyclist both run a red light. The penalty? It's identical. The law doesn't see the car or the bank account, it only sees the action. That is equality in its purest form. And here we go. This might just be the most fundamental power-up of all, the right to life and liberty. Now, this is so much more than just the right not to be killed. It's the right to live a life with dignity. So what does a dignified life actually mean in practice? Well, our courts have said it includes all the things that make life worth living. For example, if a factory is polluting a river and making people in the area sick, courts have used this very right to shut that factory down. Why? Because your right to health is part of your right to a dignified life. It's an incredibly powerful tool for citizen welfare. So we have this incredible rulebook. But what stops a powerful government from just, rewriting the rules to suit itself? Well, that brings us to the very foundation of the game.
And that's a fair question, isn't it? I mean, times change, technology evolves, societies change. A book written decades ago can't just stay frozen in time. And the answer is, it doesn't. But, and this is a big but, changing it is made deliberately difficult.
Here's a great way to think about it. Changing an ordinary law is like painting a wall in your house. You can do it pretty easily with just a simple majority vote. But amending the Constitution? Oh, that's like trying to change the actual foundation of your house. You wouldn't do that lightly, would you? It requires a massive consensus, a two-thirds supermajority, because one tiny mistake could bring the whole house crashing down. And that difficulty, that's a feature, not a bug. It makes sure that the basic principles of our democracy, things like our fundamental rights, the separation of powers, can't just be erased based on the whims of whatever political party happens to be in power today. It forces everyone to think long-term and to build a national consensus. All right, we've gone through the rules, the players, and the power-ups. So what now? Well, now the focus shifts from the rulebook directly to you. You see, knowing all this is only half the battle. The Constitution doesn't just hand you a list of powers and say, hey, have fun with it. With every single right that you have comes a responsibility to use it wisely. I love this quote because it just captures the essence of our role perfectly. The Constitution is not some automated self-driving car that just runs on its own. No, it's a bicycle. It's a brilliant machine for sure, but it only stays upright and moves forward if we, the citizens, are actively pedaling. So what does pedaling actually look like in real life? Well, it means using your freedom of speech to question leaders who try to divide us. It means using your right to protest when you see an injustice. It means using your voice, even if it's just on social media, to bring attention to problems in your own community. And of course, it means making an educated, informed choice on Election Day. The main thing I want you to take away from all of this is that you are not just a spectator watching from the sidelines. In this grand game of democracy, you are the most valuable player on the field. The entire system, the whole thing, it's built for you, and it relies on you. The Constitution has given you the rulebook, it's given you the rights, and it's given you the bicycle. The only question left is the one right here on the screen. The power is in your hands. So, when will you start to pedal?